The Fed15 podcast is presented by Serving Those Who Serve, a fiduciary, fee-based financial planning firm serving federal government employees and retirees all over the country. This podcast is presented for information and entertainment only and is not intended to be taken as financial advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. The opinions expressed therein are not the opinion of Raymond James or Serving Those Who Serve. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Fed15. We are here in your ears for another week, discussing all of the latest news and info that Feds need to know in 15 minutes-ish or less. Today is probably going to be an ish episode because we have a lot of interesting topics to cover. But whether you are a seasoned federal employee or whether you're just starting out in your career, we are so happy to have you here with us at the Fed15 podcast, and we have got you covered. So grab your coffee, kick back. Unless you're commuting on 495, then definitely don't kick back. And we will tell you what you need to know, but might have missed in news this week. We are your hosts, Katelyn Murray, and
I'm Dan Sipe.
The fabulous, inimitable Dan Sipe.
Oh, wow. That's setting a high bar for me.
How is that? That's a good intro, right? Good hype woman over here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How you doing, Katelyn? How was your week?
I'm good. My week was good. It's crazy that it's already August. Insane to me because I feel like we wait, at least I do. So I'm a big summer person. I feel like I wait all year for summer and then it feels like it's like 2 weeks long. So how about you? How was your week?
Really good. Really good. Again, I'm getting that same feeling like Phineas and Ferb. There's only so many days of summer vacation. We've got to transfer it all in. Actually, Katelyn, I know last go around we talked movies. I want to throw in a little bit on books because I just finished just a great book. It's called Legacy, and it's leadership lessons from the New Zealand All Blacks. So for those of you who may not be familiar, they're a pro rugby team. And if you saw the movie Invictus, that's who South Africa had to take on in the championships. And they've just been good forever. Going back to their founding in the early 1900s, they have a win percentage in the mid to high 70s. I mean, that's a long time to be that good. But what was really compelling about this is they kind of broke down their culture. And one of the ones, it's the first one in there that just jumped out at me, is called Sweep the Sheds. And so no matter what has just happened, even if they just won the World Cup, at the end of their meeting in the locker room, you're going to see two guys get up with brooms and start tidying up. The shed is their locker room. And it could be the two biggest stars doing it. And so just some really, really great stuff in there. Plus Haka. What's not to like about Haka? So folks, if you're looking for a summer read, it's a fun summer read, tells some cool stories about the All Blacks. But also some really interesting things that I think everybody can apply to their lives and work. So, yep, that's my plug.
Very cool.
I realize it's not a Jurassic Shark, but you can only do that so many times.
It's not. I was looking for that Jurassic Shark movie because I have not seen it.
This week. Yep.
Because it's the sequel, right?
Yep.
So I was looking for the first one to watch it, and I was kind of scrolling through, I think, Prime I was on, and I did not find Jurassic Shark, but I found Noah's Shark.
Well, actually,
I found Santa Jaws.
Okay, so I have to be clear
I have some
here.
Great runners up for you.
It is called The Meg.
The Meg, gotcha.
And on the movie poster, it had the words Jurassic Shark. So it is The Meg with Jason Statham.
The Meg.
Yep.
Got you. Okay. Well, I have a long laundry list of shark-related horror films to recommend to you, but we'll not hold our viewers or listeners captive for that.
We'll save that.
Well, we do actually have a lot of interesting stuff kind of going on in the federal space this week. Lots of interesting stuff happening for our feds. One really exciting thing, there is a new rule from OPM that was originally proposed in 2021, and it was officially published actually just this past week, July 25th. The rule is confirming that federal employees who are working on a temporary, seasonal, or intermittent status may now be eligible for federal dental and vision plans.
Oh, nice.
Previously, they were not. Yeah, so as long as those workers are putting in at least 130 hours per month, and as long as they are working for at least 90 days, they should be eligible for that coverage now. At USPS, employees who match that criteria are often called pre-career employees, and they were actually eligible for FEHB in 2015. There are also, I want to mention, because we have launched our special provisions webinars, and for our Leo and firefighter folks, there are certain federal firefighters who do not meet that 130-hour and 90-day requisites for the coverage that might still be eligible. Mm-hmm. Their employee agency will determine whether they are eligible or not. So if you are a federal firefighter, you could.
And Katelyn, don't forget, we've also got our air traffic controllers in there.
Yes.
Keeping us safe in the skies. We see you, we know you, we love you, we appreciate you.
Definitely. Yeah. As much as I fly, yes. I very much appreciate you. And then also don't want to leave out the federal emergency responders, folks who are working in wildland fire protection. They gained FEHB eligibility in 2022, and they are believed to be included in the new rule that would include them for vision and dental insurance. So that's great.
Nice.
Good to know. So the numbers, because we're big on numbers, research that was conducted in 2021 and 2022 concluded that as a result of this rule change, 72,100 federal employees and 118,609 postal workers will now be eligible for vision and dental insurance coverage, which is great. So just kind of the cliff notes on admin for this, if you think that this may apply to you and you're listening, starting the day that you are notified by your employing agency of your eligibility, there is a 60-day enrollment period to obtain the coverage. And if you miss that period, you have to wait until open season, which is in late November, early December, same time as the FEHB open season. So if you think that this applies to you, definitely kind of be ready to opt in for that if it works for you.
No, Great stuff.
Yeah. Always love to see more people taking care of their eyes and their luxury bones, your teeth.
Nice. Yeah. For me, I'm jumping in with something that, it's not a hot topic, but when it happens, it's a big deal. And this refers to someone, and I'm speaking to an employed Fed right now, someone filing a claim on your federal employee group life insurance program. Okay. A couple of fun facts. The federal employee group life insurance program is actually administered by Metropolitan Life. They have their own office for it. It's called the Office of Federal Employee Group Life Insurance, or OFEGLI. So when something happens, your beneficiary is going to file an F like Frank, E like Edward 6 claim form. They're going to send that to OFEGLI, and that's when the process begins. They're generally going to target completion in about 30 days, but it can go past 30. And it's typically if something's been missing. So I'm going to run through a couple of those. We have a great article on the site that goes deeper. Whenever you hear something from us here, know that there's something on the site that can go deeper. And then there's something after that can go even deeper. Okay, so that's our idea. What was it? The fix? When I see the edge, I look, I fall, then I get deeper and deeper and deeper. So we don't want you to have to fall. We've got a place for you to go deeper and deeper and deeper. So what I would say is the number one thing, and this is out of order from our articles, is that there's no beneficiary. And I know that sounds crazy, but it can happen. So when in doubt and when not in doubt, fill out a new beneficiary form. Just get that in there. So if we get to the things that could delay it, if there's insufficient supporting documents, and one of the biggest ones would be no death certificate. That means somebody kind of jumped the gun a little bit, filed the claim before they got it from the funeral home. Another one would be beneficiary dispute or contestation of the claim. This is a big one, folks, because a lot of times people sign up for FEGLI when they start federal service, fresh-faced, in their early 30s or late 20s, and now they're 65, 70, 80 when the claim is being paid. If they've remarried and they never changed the beneficiary, that's a challenge because FEGLI runs under federal law. It's not going to follow rules of state courts. So if that beneficiary says pay somebody to whom you are no longer connected, that's the only choice they have. Another one that could trip people up is only having a single witness that signed the beneficiary form. Okay, so pay attention to the signatures. Another one, if the beneficiary form comes in after the date of death, that's a little hard to sell that it was done beforehand. Right. If you are listing multiple beneficiaries, make sure your math is good. Okay, so that you got the right percentages going. And the last one's kind of weird that we've seen. Doesn't happen that often. If for some reason there end up being competing executors for your estate, that can delay these things. And ideally, what you want, if God forbid something happens to you, is for these things to be paid at quickly. Now, I got to go into very, very briefly what happens when there's no beneficiaries. Okay, so FEGLI has something called order of precedence. So number one will always be the designated beneficiaries. That's why I say when in doubt, fill it out. Okay, just do it. If there's no designated beneficiary, then first order of precedence is the surviving spouse. If there's no surviving spouse, next order of precedence is the surviving children. No spouse or children, surviving parents. If none of the above, then it goes to the estate for the executor to distribute. If there's no estate or executor, then it's going to start going to a next of kin, which can really get sticky. And the last one is the one that I hate. Understand, I hate this. After 4 years if no beneficiaries filed a claim, the money's escheated to FEGLI. And that means it doesn't go anywhere. So folks, if you're listening to this one, I know it's not cool like we're talking about TSP stuff or raises. If you're not sure your beneficiary is right, fill one out. Take that away from today.
Yep, fill it out. Two big things. One, check your beneficiaries once a year. Just check it. Because things happen. I tell clients all the time when we're meeting. Every single client meeting that I have, I ask about beneficiaries. When's the last time you looked at it?
Sure.
Just look at it because people die, people get born, people get married, people get divorced. And that happens all throughout our lives. And the last thing that you're thinking when you're standing at a wedding of somebody who you care about, family member who you love, is, I got to update my beneficiaries, right? You're not going to think about it then. So just make a practice to check it.
Katelyn,
maybe every November.
Because after the morning we'd had getting to our wedding, there were some hiccups. My wife tenderly leaned over to me and said, your only way out of this is in a box because I'm not going through a morning like this. So sometimes you do talk about it. I'm just saying that. Not saying that happens.
Maybe. Yeah. No, check your beneficiaries once a year, set a time. November's a great time to do it. Thoughtfulness, reflection, coming with the month of Thanksgiving. Definitely set a time each year, set a calendar pop and check those. And the other piece of advice that I will give you is primary beneficiaries are sometimes not enough, right?
Sure.
If you think about it, if you are married, you are probably listing your spouse as the primary beneficiary on your TSP. You and your spouse spend a lot of time together. You travel places together. You spend most of your time, I would imagine, together. So if something, God forbid, were to happen, there's a higher probability that you and your spouse could be impacted. I'm thinking if you travel places together, things like that, there's a higher level of liability. So make sure that you have not only a primary beneficiary, but a contingent beneficiary. Contingent beneficiaries do not stand to inherit anything unless your primary beneficiaries are deceased at your time of passing.
That's a great point.
Yeah, this isn't, I see that a lot where I'll sit down with somebody and we'll kind of be going over all of their information and they've got a beneficiary on file, but they don't have a contingent. So definitely consider adding that contingent beneficiary and make sure that you stay on top of it, that they're up to date. We can have a whole episode on beneficiaries, but I will restrain myself. I did want to mention a really good article that we had published on the blog this week. You know, we love our fast facts.
Yes.
And this week we published 5 fast facts about survivor benefits. Mm-hmm. So when we look at survivor benefits, this is something that impacts your entire federal employee retirement package. And there's different kind of impacts for the different pieces of that overall package. This is going to be very high level. That's my disclaimer. If you want to dig into the details, we have a ton of resources on the blog. Please check this article out. If you're interested in this, we can really get into like Mariana's Trench on survivor benefits. So
let's go, Katelyn. Lightning round.
That's my disclaimer. So
let's go for it.
When I say survivor benefits, probably the first thing that you think about is FERS and CSRS. So if a FERS annuitant who passes away in retirement has selected a survivor benefit, their survivor is eligible for 25 to 50% of the pension, depending on what kind of reduction the federal retiree chose when they applied for retirement. So when you make that decision, you can choose a 25% survivor benefit. You can choose a 50% survivor benefit. Obviously, if you go 50, it's a little bit more expensive.
Sure.
If you go 25, it's a little cheaper. CSRS folks, so they basically get up to 55% of the unreduced pension. And that is their locked in survivor benefit. Now, federal retirees should remember that if you didn't select any survivor benefit when you submitted that paperwork, there is no survivor benefit on the pension, but there's also no FEHB coverage. And we'll talk about that in a second. So something to kind of consider for those who are employed looking at retirement and something for retirees to review. A survivor benefit can, in some cases, be payable to an ex-spouse if decreed by a court order. For non-spouse beneficiaries, this is children or dependents that you have, they may be eligible for a survivor benefit in certain conditions, provided they are unmarried and under the age of 18, or they can be over 18 if they became completely disabled prior to attaining the age of 18.
Yep.
Looking at the TSP, surviving spouse basically has the same withdrawal options on TSP funds as a newly retired Fed. They can take installment payments, they can do a one-time partial withdrawal, or they can do a one-time total withdrawal, or they can opt in for a TSP annuity administered by MetLife. Now, you don't have to make withdrawals from an inherited TSP outside of RMDs if you're eligible for that, if you don't need them. So you don't have to take the money out. You have the option to leave the money in the TSP, or you can roll it into an inherited IRA outside of the TSP. Now, this obviously for surviving spouses or beneficiaries, child beneficiaries of TSPs, this is a huge topic, huge decision. Definitely, if this is you, reach out for some guidance on that, because that is a big decision. All of those different options have significant impacts on your financial planning picture. Looking towards Social Security, there is a survivor benefit associated with Social Security. Fully insured workers, which means you've attained 40 or more credits. Eligible family members, including spouses, surviving children, or in some cases, surviving parents, can potentially get monthly insurance benefits on that eligible worker's record. So know that there is a potential benefit that comes with Social Security for survivors. FEHB, I'm going to remind you again, if the survivor's benefit is not selected when applying for a FERS or CSRS annuity, when you retire, when you submit the retirement paperwork, and they take it off to the mountain in Pennsylvania, then your widow or widower will not be eligible for FEHB participation. The FEHB coverage is necessitated upon having some degree of annuity income as a survivor. So big thing there. FEGLI, we talked a bit about. As long as you, the federal employee who is in this scenario, hypothetically deceased, as long as you had at least basic coverage, which we recommend that you keep at least partially in retirement, death benefits are paid tax-free to your designated beneficiaries. Make sure that you have designated beneficiaries on file.
Absolutely.
And then lastly, we would be remiss if we didn't mention the impact on federal long-term care insurance. This is probably one that you guys maybe haven't thought about. In some cases, those of you who have federal long-term care insurance 3.0, the 3.0 policies, these were the ones that were purchased in October 2019 or later. Some portion of the premiums paid to those policies may be refunded to a surviving spouse. So definitely look into that if that pertains to you. Just kind of know that's a little bonus tip there that can impact.
Gotcha. Hey, great rundown. Folks, that's all the time we have for today. This was an ish day. We went a little bit over, but I think we packed a lot of good stuff in there. We will be back next week to bring the latest updates you need to make informed decisions about your career and your financial well-being as a Fed.
Absolutely. And be sure to subscribe to this podcast on our YouTube channel if you're a video person. Our YouTube channel is called FedLife, so you never miss an episode. And please remember to share it with your friends and colleagues. If you are not a video person, you can find us on Spotify.
Yep. And for more information on the topics covered today's show and more, hit our blog. It's blog.fcwserve.com. Subscribe to the newsletter, Weekly Serving. It's going to get shot right to you. The best of our stuff each week, right to the inbox.
Absolutely. And like Dan said earlier, it's a deeper and deeper situation. If you want to dive even deeper into the topics that we talked about today, and if you want to learn more about your financial planning for Feds and more about your benefits, we encourage you to join us for one of our complimentary webinars. Mm-hmm. We've got some great ones coming up. We have TSP planning on August 17th from
featuring
1 p.m.
the incandescent Katelyn Murray.
Incandescent. Wow. Leveling up. I love it. Yeah, I will be hosting that one. I will be hosting it with Ed Zerndorfer, our resident expert on federal employee benefits. So that is August 17th from 1 to 4. We're going to talk all things TSP. It's a very enlightening session. People love that one. There's also financial planning for Feds on August 22nd from 11 to 2. And we have a session on FEHB. It's on August 31st from 1 to 4. And Dan, are you hosting those?
I think I've got those too. Yeah. I think that might be. Yep. So they got to settle for me because they don't have you.
All good. Well, it's a great month of really, I know summer's crazy. There's all sorts of things happening. Open enrollment is just around the corner. It's a great time to start learning about your employee benefits so that you can feel educated and ready to kind of step into that season.
Absolutely. Folks, thanks for listening to the Fed15. I'm Dan Sipe.
And I'm Katelyn Murray.
And we will see you next week. We'll be here. Hope you are too.
Absolutely. See you guys. Take care.